work.
Yeah.
But and then around 2015, 16, I got a little tired and fed up with Hollywood, so I I left and I moved to New York for a year, and I didn't really like New York much. It's a little bit too much of a grind for me. But the stand-up comedy scene was alive and kicking, and that was the reason why I went. And then I ended up in Asia for 2 years. I lived in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and I toured. Yeah, I was creating content and producing tours out there, and touring and doing stand-up comedy in like, China, Hong Kong, Tokyo, Japan, Singapore, Philippines, Indonesia. I was in Vietnam. I went to Thailand several times and did comedy shows in Thailand. So I really fell in love with Asia. I wanted to come back to the US. So I did in late November 2019, and then COVID hit a couple months later. And then everything got shut down. Stand-up comedy became irrelevant, obsolete. And then a lot of comics were doing stuff like this, Zoom calls, and it's hard to do a Zoom comedy call, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But some comics were able to pivot and get away with it, and they could talk to people on the screens. But there's nothing better than live stand-up comedy.
Right. So that's incredible. So you went from, at 19 years old, you took a very daring step to become an actor. I mean, what was going on in your head when your parents, weren't really supportive? What was your passion for acting? Was it something that you saw among your friends, or you found inspiration elsewhere?
No, my friends that I grew up with, none of them got into the industry. All my friends that I went to high school with, they all went on to have like careers and families, outside of the entertainment industry. I was literally the only person for that matter, who moved to LA to pursue it. The thing that made me want to do it is, you can really express yourself as an actor through other people's dialogue. When you get a script, that's the problem with playing a terrorist or these stereotype roles, is I wasn't able to express myself like I wanted to. That's why I quit and I got into stand-up comedy. Stand-up comedy, straight up in America, you have freedom of speech. They can't say or do anything to you unless you're posing a major physical threat to somebody on stage. You can kind of say whatever you want in America. And that's the beauty of America. I know a lot of people look at America like, our country is crumbling and politically it's unstable. And yes, that's true. But you can still be a stand-up comic and nobody can really touch you. You can you're allowed to create your own industry within the world of stand-up comedy. Funny's funny. And if you're funny, nobody can touch you. People always ask me, what's the best way to get ahead, as a stand-up comic? And I say, just be funny first. Be funny first, and then attack the business aspect of it. Because it's called show business, right? You can't have the business if you ain't got a show, and vice versa. So yeah, I mean, I just the stand-up comedy industry is, I think, one of the only independent art forms where you kind of have, I hate to say this, but you kind of have the highest power and authority to speak truth to power and authority, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But then you see other countries like in the Middle East or Asia, if you criticize the government, you go to jail or they kill you. So, I feel fortunate and blessed to have traveled to several countries. I think at least a couple dozen countries around the world performing stand-up comedy. I've performed in front of 6 people, and I've performed in front of 6,000 people. And then everything in between. I've performed in front of, His Majesty King Abdullah of Jordan and his wife Queen Rania. That was crazy.
Amazing.
And then I've performed in front of white people in the South with no teeth. So it's like, you just never know who your crowd is going to be. But
what I
comedy
love
provides.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, that was it. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I think it's amazing how you face these stereotypical roles in cinema as an Arab American, and you said, no, I'm going to be true to myself. I'm not going to change my name. And you went and you turned it on its head and you made comedy out of it, where you're actually poking fun at the idea of people stereotyping Arabs, and which is obviously not true. And you made a great career in comedy because of it. So I think that's very respectable.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, the journey never ends, It's like with comedy, just when you think you have it all figured out, you get thrown a monkey wrench at you, or some sort of adversity happens. And, you have to remember, we're also in a huge cancel culture right now. So American comics are being canceled over, one joke, or, Bill, I don't know if you know Bill Burr. He's one of the best comics out there right now. Mm-hmm. And Bill Burr, he said something like, somebody asked him, what do you think of the cancel culture? And he said, there is no cancel culture. It's two white women that they interviewed. I just thought that was, and then everybody listened to that interview, and that became the cancel. It's not a whole group of people. It's like literally two white women, two Karens.
That's great. So we'll go to a few questions, from the audience and other questions we have here. Luffy wanted to ask, who is the king of comedy for you?
Me.
Yeah, easy answer, right?
No, king of comedy. I mean, I grew up watching Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy back in the day. Those were kind of like my true inspirations. Like when I watched Eddie Murphy Delirious, the one where he's wearing the red leather suit, I was like 9 years old. I was blown away that this like young 22-year-old black man can go up in front of 10,000 people in Washington, D.C. and literally have people crying from laughter. I thought, oh, that's powerful, And then later on, I started watching Richard Pryor. And Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy was definitely and still is a craftsman at his art. Richard Pryor had a little bit more, I don't even know, it's hard to compare the two, but Richard Pryor had this like, I'm from the ghetto, he kind of shot off the hip, whereas Eddie Murphy was more kind of controlled and sort of slick with his comedy. Richard Pryor was he was a little bit more raw for me, and but I love them both equally, and those were probably the two inspirations. So king of comedy, I would say Pryor and
Eddie Murphy.
And Eddie Murphy,
yeah. And talking about inspiration, what was your inspiration for Hollywood? Like, did being Egyptian or maybe Egyptian movies have anything to do with this?
It's funny. That's a good question. No. Although when I was a kid, my mom and dad used to watch like a lot of Adil movies.
Yeah, he's a star. He's a big star.
Yeah, I met him once. He was not very nice, to be honest with you.
Ouch.
He just wasn't a nice guy. He was a little like, I mean, with me, I don't know how he is with other people, but I met him at the Doha Tribeca Film Festival, this very prestigious film festival. And we all got invited to this dinner together, like 12 people, a couple big Egyptian stars. He was there. Robert De Niro was there. not Randall Wallace. I forgot his name. The guy who wrote Braveheart. Like there was all these weird, like big Hollywood wigs in there, and then a couple of Egyptian stars and Adil Imam. And I went over and introduced myself to him very politely and humbly, and he was just like he wanted me to kiss his ring or something. And I was like, bro, nobody knows you in the U.S. Relax, just relax.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I don't like about our industry. Arrogance, cockiness.
Yeah.
You know, you're all human beings, man. Like, just slow down.
Stay humble.
Stay humble. But when I was 5 years old, my parents took me to the big movie premiere screening of well, now it's called The Message, but at the time the movie was called Muhammad, Messenger of God.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a story
Risala.
about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah. And
Yeah, it's a
I don't know if
classic.
you classic, and I've watched both versions. I'm friends with Malik Akkad, Mustafa Akkad, Leia Hamru, his son. I made friends with him obviously later in life, but that movie, when I saw it, my parents, we drove from Riverside to LA. It was like an hour away, and we got there late, and it was packed. There was probably 400 people in this movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
And we got there a little late, right before the movie started. You know, we're from the Middle East, so we're always late. And
That's cultural.
yeah. And the only seats that were available were in the front row. There were exactly 3 or 4 seats in the very, very front row. So I'm 5 years old, sitting with my mom and dad, looking at this gigantic movie theater, watching this epic, 3-hour movie about the Prophet. And it was powerful. And it's a beautiful film. And for those of you that are watching this, if you haven't seen it, get it. It's called The Message. They changed the title to The Message. And if you watch documentaries about the making of the movie, Mustafa Akkad, he went through a lot of adversity. He had death threats. He owed a lot of people money. They wouldn't screen the movie in certain countries. I think even Algeria, they wouldn't screen the movie there. Or maybe he went to Algeria for support. I can't remember the whole storyline, but at any rate, when I watched that I'd never been to a movie theater, nonetheless, seen a movie that shot so epically at such a young age, that movie made me admire cinema and the art of cinema, and the fact that somebody can take a camera and produce these big epic like battle scenes. And I mean, if you watch the movie, it's the attention to detail in the movie is, for back then, it was unheard of. It was like very much like Lawrence of Arabia kind of stuff. I think that was the first inspiration and like glimmer into cinema. And then from there, like I said, from the beginning of the conversation, I was watching a lot of stuff on television, of course, American TV, and then going to the movie theaters on the weekends and watching movies back to back, James Bond, Rocky. I remember coming out of the movie Rocky, like, dun, 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 dun. I always like movies that made me feel, adrenaline-driven movies that make you feel good when you come out, movies that make you, change your thinking or your motivation in life. And I think movies have, in the cinema, entertainment, art, comedy, there's a power in sending a message out to people through that lens and through that microscope. And if you can channel it and monetize it and make money at it, it could be a powerful thing.
Agreed.
So Ahmed, what is next for you? I mean, do you have anything lined up? I'm sure some audience are excited to see what you produce next.
Well, I have about 4 TV shows that I'm developing. 1 or 2 of them I'm really trying to focus on. I wrote a movie years ago that I'm trying to get greenlit. So if you know any Algerian investors, let me know. It's a comedy. It's kind of based on my life a little bit because my name's Ahmed Ahmed. I'm on the no-fly list. And apparently there is a terrorist who's on the FBI's most wanted list who's also named Ahmed Ahmed, and we kind of look alike. So that was stopping me from traveling quite a bit. I wrote a joke about it years ago on my Axis of Evil comedy special where I say, I keep getting I'm mistaken for being this terrorist, but they don't realize I'm a comic. And I'm wondering, so I went home and I Googled myself and I found this guy, and I thought maybe the terrorist is in the Middle East Googling me like, hey, bro, look, there's this comedian in America. He's using my name. This is bullshit. That's my name. And so I wrote a movie about it, and it's about a Middle Eastern Muslim American comedian and a Middle Eastern Muslim terrorist who share the same name, look alike, and they're accidentally ruining each other's lives because nobody takes the terrorist seriously, like in the Middle East. Like, let's say he's going through an arms deal and he's trying to make a deal happen, and the guy across the way is like, "That's the guy from YouTube, bro." He's like, "Tell me a joke." He's like, "I'm not the comedian." Like, he gets really frustrated. So
I want to see that. I want to watch that.
It's absurd if you think about it. But the movie is these guys are ruining each other's lives, and they seek each other out to kind of take each other out, and then they accidentally take on each other's lives. And the movie's called Ahmed versus Ahmed.
Nice.
But it's a touchy topic, and it's a comedy, and it's a very broad comedy because I think it's important to kind of take out all the steam. Like, there's a lot of hot air around that topic, and I think if you put a funny twist on it, it makes a little bit, it's not going to make it go away, but it might make people a little bit more comfortable to kind of digest it.
Yeah. Well, we look forward to watching that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Well, last question, because I know that you have a busy day ahead of you.
I'm okay. I can take a few questions if you want them, in no rush.
Sure. Badis, do you want to ask one, and then I'll have the final question?
Yes, I will ask a personal question. Have you ever considered touring in the NEA region? I mean, in Algeria, for example?
Yeah.
I'd love to.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be nice.
I was trying to organize tours in Tunisia. I was working with the embassy in Tunisia a while back, and that fell apart. I'm not quite sure what happened. I would be honored to come to Algeria, of course.
That would be great to have you.
Well, we'll try to make that happen. We'll try to make that happen while we're here, and you have some new followers here. So,
inshallah, thank you.
Inshallah. How about some advice you can share for any aspiring comedians and actors, people who want to get into show business? What's your advice?
My advice in our industry is you really, I know that people say this about every industry, but with our industry, you really have to be married to it. And if you're willing to sacrifice not having nice things, unless you come from a rich family who's going to bankroll your career and, pursuit of it, that's different. But, sacrifice relationships, sacrifice driving a nice car, sacrifice going on those vacations, sacrifice all that stuff so you can really razor sharp put your focus into the industry, at least until you get to a point where, and I would never say rest on your laurels, because you always want to keep moving and produce and be prolific, but at least get to a point where you have a base and a foundation. Because you really can't write stand-up comedy unless you have experiences, right? You have to experience life in order to write about it and, express the funny side of it. As an actor, that's a different beast. These days, the film and television industry, not to mention the distribution platforms, because there are so many of them right now, it's kind of the Wild West. There is no real rhyme or reason as to how you get on in TV or film. But I would say my biggest advice is, write your own ticket, write your own movie, write your own play, write your own TV series, and go around and try to pitch it and get it done. If nobody buys your idea, scrape up some money, get a camera crew, and shoot what they call a sizzle reel, which is like a 3 to 5 minute, even less, 2 to 3 minute sort of teaser trailer of what your movie's about, what your TV show's about. These days, people's attention span is so short. It's hard to get people to watch anything for more than 30 seconds. I mean, look at TikTok. TikTok, you get, 1 minute.
Fast content, yeah.
It's fast. People are just they don't have time to read, Sometimes you ever go on Facebook and somebody posts this long monologue. It's just like, I'm not reading that.
Yeah.
You know,
True.
Twitter's short, you know, I think 140 characters, you know, Instagram, pictures, quick. I think that's the culture we're in now. And, but excuse me, aside from writing your own ticket, if you want to be, you know, cast as an actor, I would say get a demo reel together, maybe go to a film school. I don't know if Algeria has film departments in some of their universities or maybe online courses, and I don't know with COVID what's happening. I know COVID kind of changed the whole game. Not kind of, it did change the whole game. But I know when I first started out as an actor, I did a bunch of free like short films for like USC Film School, UCLA Film School, some of the film schools, New York Film Academy in the LA area. And then you get like, you know, 2 minutes here, 3 minutes there, 4 minutes there. Then you cut it together. They call it a demo reel. And then you show that, you know, you show that to agents. Hopefully an agent will submit you. That's the longer process. And that's, I feel like, more of the sacrifice and the struggle to do that, to get a demo reel together, to get an agent, go out on auditions. Even now, when you go out on auditions, they call them self-tape auditions. So I have to get a camera, get a person to read my lines with me, memorize 5 pages of dialogue, put myself on tape, upload it to Dropbox, send it to my agents.
A lot of work, yeah.
It's a lot of work. Sometimes you'll spend 5, 6, 7 hours for like one audition and you don't get it. So, you know, so you have to measure your time, like what's more valuable, right? Time is the most valuable thing on this planet right now. I mean, aside from our health, there's only so many minutes in a day. So I would rather spend that time trying to produce my own project, produce my own story, produce my own characters, whether it's a sketch, a monologue, one-man show, play. You know, that doesn't matter. You could be a dancer, director, writer, whatever you are, you know, but specifically acting and comedy. Write your own ticket. As a comic, you have to. I think it's safe to team up with other comedians and help them help each other, like write and tag each other with jokes and stuff. Sometimes when I'm talking to a friend saying something funny, he'll go, "Oh, that's funny. You should say this." I'm like, "Oh, okay," and then I'll try that. And it's a great collaboration there. But and I don't even know if is there a stand-up comedy scene in Algeria?
Yeah, we have
There is?
some stand-up comedians, yeah.
And they perform at like coffee shops, venues, comedy clubs, theaters?
We used to have like a TV show, like a competition called قهوة القسطو, like the coffee shop of fun, or something, if you want to translate it. And out of it, we got some stand-up comedians. Some of them are really good.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, if venues are open in Algeria and these young, you know, men and women are allowed to go out, COVID safe or whatever, and perform, try to get up as much as you can as a comic. Also, if you can't, like when I first got to Hollywood and I was trying to perform on these big stages, the Comedy Store, the Laugh Factory, the Improv, I couldn't get in. So what did I do? I opened up my own club. So if you don't get invited to the party, you gotta just make your own party. and I ended up running one of the hottest comedy shows in the country. It was called Dublin's. So we had
That's amazing.
Everybody coming in. Dave Chappelle, you know, Joe
You're the
Rogan.
one invited now.
Well, I wasn't inviting. They would just show up. They were calling me saying, "Can I come to your party?"
Yeah, that's even better. Yeah.
So it's good in our industry, not from like an egotistical perspective, but from a place of power and control to make your own party. You know, find your venue, make a deal with the venue owner. You say, "Hey, we'll take, you know, the door sales. You take the food and beverage, or you make some sort of deal." That's where the producer hat, you know, comes in for me. That's where my like Egyptian side comes in. I start making deals and stuff like that. And that's it. I've just been writing my own ticket ever since. I mean, I have a talent agent. I put myself on tape for auditions here and there, but I'm not booking stuff lately. I don't have a manager. The stand-up comedy scene in the US is very slim right now because of COVID. So all the clubs are like half capacity, distanced. And so now they're booking the real big name acts. So I got pushed down, you know, and getting like a Wednesday night here, a Monday night there. So, but going back to creating your own party, you know, throwing your own party. I live in Venice Beach, and we were doing a show here called the Venice Comedy Compound. And LA was on a second lockdown up until this week. So we are opening back up. Some of the outdoor clubs around here aren't booking me as much as I'd like to be booked. I think they're also going for like the younger kind of millennial comedians, alternative comics, we call them. I don't find them very funny, but that's just my taste. They just lack that raw kind of shoot from the hip funny. It's more sort of rehearsed stand-up comedy. I don't like listening to people that sound like they rehearsed their joke. A joke should sound like you said it for the first time, not 20 times in the mirror.
Yeah.
So yeah, God willing, we're going to open back up, and then we'll be right back in business. And I will have my own little space I can perform at, you know, any day of the week.
Amazing.
And then we'll see from there. You know, in 2021, when the world opens up, I'd like to get back out there and travel. I'd like to go back to the Middle East and perform. I'd like to go back to Asia. I'd like to try to get my TV and film projects developed. I wrote a brand new hour of stand-up comedy, which took me a very long time, but I finally did it. Most of it is about living in Asia.
All right.
Because Asia is just a funny region. There's a lot of jokes about Asians. Let me tell you something. Yeah, that's it. You know, I think just to kind of wrap up, I think the daily routine for me, entertainer or not, you know, I get up every morning and I'd have my little routine, but I try to meditate and exercise daily. And even if it's for 15 minutes or an hour, I think, you know, body in motion stays in motion. It also keeps your brain moving. And yeah, I think social media is probably the last frontier of where artists should go. Start building your Instagram, start building your Twitter, start building your Snapchat, start building your TikTok, start building your Facebook, whatever platform you're on.
Yes, to get exposure and visibility.
Yeah, while you're creating your content, you need to have that engagement with the fans, people who like your stuff. And one last thing. On my YouTube clips, I have quite a few haters and bashers who leave really nasty comments and just leave shitty things, you know, on the comments. And I used to get mad. I used to get really like, you know, they say you're not funny, or I'd have like real, you know, strict Muslims come on and like say, you're not a real Muslim, and Allah should, you know, put you in hell, and somebody should slap you across the face. And like sometimes like people just saying really nasty stuff. And I used to get mad and reply back and say, you don't know what you're talking about. And if somebody, you know, if you told a joke, I used to just get really kind of like offended, and I took it personally. And I thought, you know what? These are people that are sitting behind their computers all day with nothing to do. And
Exactly,
they're the internet trolls. Exactly. So now I just sometimes when I reply, I'll say, hey, thanks for watching. Please like and share. You know, hope you're having a great day. You know, like I just kill them with kindness, so they can't get upset with you over that. But it's weird, you know. Some people will say like all this nasty shit about me, and then one comment will pop up, and you know, it'll say like, how do we book you in Boston?
Yeah.
So you never know.
The U.S. Embassy here, we kind of take that same approach on our social media. We'll post something and we get all these haters. I think we posted one time about us doing something and people were angry about it. Doing something like simple. And people were like, why did you go to that cafe? Or why do you eat this? And our response was, Samhulna kirana aishin. Right, buddies? Like, sorry, thank you. Sorry, we're trying to live here,
Yeah.
Yeah, we're hungry.
Yeah, it was really, that's a great way to kind of deal with hostile audiences, is killing them with fun and kindness. So
yeah, and I think,
you.
I was just going to say, just my last thing to coattail what you just said, for anybody who's out there listening, don't make the mistake that I made when I first started out. You can't fight the internet. Don't try to fight the internet. It's a battle you'll never win. The internet always wins.
That is a brilliant piece of advice.
Yeah, and you're never going to find the person or the people that are doing all these, nasty comments. Just let them fly in the wind. And the best thing to do is not comment at all, because silence is power. But to if you want to jab back with a little, like, make it a great day, do a little like emoji, sometimes I'll do like this emoji or whatever. Sometimes I'll do this emoji. And you just be playful with it, because all you're going to do is waste your time. Remember I said earlier, there are only so many minutes in a day. Don't get caught up. If you're going to engage your audience, engage them with positivity and be thankful and grateful daily. And the people that are negative, I know it's tough. It's like, it's very similar to when a comic is on stage and somebody in the audience is trying to heckle you. It's different because in a comedy club, you can have the security tell them to leave. Mm-hmm. On the internet, you can block them or delete them, but they'll just reappear, So you cut off one head, two more grow.
They got free time. Yeah.
Yeah, they have free time. And so don't waste your time on these people that are trying to suck your energy, suck your soul, really it's a very parasitic, attitude and culture. And I've been trying to kind of be like Obi-Wan Kenobi and just be like, thank you, and just keep going.
Well, those are really great pieces of advice. It's been incredible to hear about your life and your just perspectives. So thank you to everyone out there watching. Thank you for joining us and hearing the story of Ahmed Ahmed, who went from Helwan to Hollywood and everywhere in between. We hope that he can make it to Algeria. I know we've been seeing a lot of comments from your fans here. And I think one thing that unites people from all corners of the world is comedy, it's entertainment and laughing together. And during my time living in Egypt and my time living in Algeria, I've seen a lot and heard a lot of things that have made me crack up. And I love that the people in these two countries have been able to take what life gives them and just turn it into a joke. So Ahmed Ahmed is a great example of a great success story who left North Africa, found a lot to do with his life in the US along with his family. And we know that there's so much more in the future for him. So
by the way,
thank you.
Just one more thing to coattail what you were saying, life will throw a lot of things at you. And so like when life throws you lemons, you make malakhiya.
Oh man. Yes.
And one last thing, I went from Helwan to Hollywood to Hajj.
Oh,
I went back to Hollywood. I'm a Haji, so I know you are too. So alhamdulillah, mashallah. I mean, I got to go back, but
alhamdulillah. Yes. You know what? Let's do it together. Reach out to us, and hopefully, after COVID, we can do a stand-up show in Mecca or something. That would be hilarious.
Hilarious and haram.
Hilarious and haram.
We can call it haram hilarity. I don't know. We'll figure out a name.
Yeah. Lovely. Sounds good. Hey, thanks again, Ahmed for joining us. We really appreciate you sharing your time and perspectives. And we wish you all the best in your next projects.
Thank you, guys. And please send me this YouTube link and I'll post it on my social media, inshallah.
Amazing.
Will do. Thank you so much. Shukran.
Thank you.
Thank you all
Ahmed.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for everybody out there watching, listening, and follow me on Instagram at Ahmed Comedy. And hope to see you guys soon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.